Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome, everyone, to the Poised for Exit podcast show. Our guest today is a returning guest who is the owner and CEO of a professional services firm that caters to the accounting community. We had him on the show, probably a few weeks ago or a few episodes ago, and we have him back now for part 2, where we're going to be taking a deeper dive into some of those common online security risks that business owners are susceptible to. And so I'm sure that you're going to want to listen to this episode. It could make a huge difference for you and for your business. But first, let's hear from our show sponsors. Thinking about selling your business in the next few years? Don't wait to start planning. I've seen too many business owners wait too long and regret it. Freedom Financial Partners are financial advisors who specialize in exit planning for business owners, helping you reduce tax surprises, protect what you've built, and quantify how much you need from the sale. Their proven process helps you think beyond your business so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. The longer you wait, the fewer options you may have. Download your free financial readiness assessment today at ffpforme.com/exit. That's ffpforme.com/exit.
My name is Todd Grau, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Are you a business owner getting ready to transition? If so, I recommend True North Mergers and Acquisitions as your confidential strategic partner. They understand your business sale isn't just about one buyer and the price, but what you net that counts. In other words, what you get to keep. When you're ready for a higher level of representation that delivers consistent results, contact True North M&A to do the heavy lifting of selling your business. Learn more at tnma.com. That's tnma.com.
Exiting your business is a big deal, both financially and emotionally. I'm John Marquet, Certified Exit Planning Advisor with TrustPoint. We help business owners transition smoothly on their terms. Our focus is on maximizing value, minimizing stress, and giving you confidence in what's next. Whether you're selling or passing the torch, we make the process seamless. Start planning today at trustpointinc.com. That's trustpointinc.com.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today once again with Steve Enzler, who is the owner and CEO of Tangible Values. Steve, welcome back to Poised for Exit.
Well, glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Super important conversation we're going to have today. Part 2, like I said in the show opener. We're not going to dive into your background or anything like that today just because we just did it. So for any of the listeners out there who didn't hear part 1, you're definitely going to want to listen to part 1 because it's going to make part 2 make more sense. But suffice it to say, Steve's firm caters to the accounting industry, and our conversation in part 1 had a lot to do with written information security plans, which is something that not only accounting firms and financial services firms need, but just about any small business. Isn't that right, Steve?
That is so true. And I mean, I led with a few stories last time we talked, and I suppose I could lead with a story this time. It's a different kind of story. So
sure, yeah, illustrate.
Okay, well, so one of the services we provide is we provide e-filing of W-2s and 1099s. Every small business has to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And major change in that front is that the IRS and the Social Security Administration is now making pretty much everyone file them electronically. The vast majority were electronic before now. That's your background. What we're seeing is a tremendous amount of fraud going on.
Wow.
And this
Yeah.
last year, the type of fraud that we saw was crazy accurate, meaning, say, any of your small business owners or exit people listening to this, what we saw was someone would log in, they had the business's tax ID, they
Okay.
had all their employees' names, social security numbers, and addresses.
Oh my gosh.
They had stolen credit card information, and what they were doing is filing fake W-2s and 1099s to get them, and all legit. The only thing that was not legit was the person doing it and the
Sure.
numbers they were putting in. And in one weekend, and we're small filer, in one weekend we saw something like 13 to 15,000 fake filings go
Wow.
in, and it's organized. So it's not just, hey, Joe figures out he's going to do it. No, it's an organized consortium. Somehow they went out in the black market and bought all this information from all those little notices we're seeing where, hey, so and so, my insurance company, we're notifying this is all this stuff is being sold and it's organized, and AI tools are used to help. So it is crazy out there. So the one, if I would say leave your folks with one thing, including anybody in exit, is that first week to 3 weeks in January is when you need to check, because that's when all the fraudulent filings are happening. Now, what happens then if, God forbid, the Social Security Administration, who gets the W-2s, or the IRS, who gets the 1099s, they don't catch it and they accept it? What happens is a tax return is filed instantaneously within a week or so after that.
Oh,
And
and then they have to amend.
well, first they got to catch it, and yeah, then
Sure.
amend. Or in the case of what typically happens, if you're lucky, you get a letter or a notice from the IRS, and that notice says, "Hey, we've decided not to issue your refund right away because we have a couple of questions." And you look at it and go, "Hold it, I haven't filed my return yet. What are they doing asking for questions?" And that's the worst case. But, well, not the worst case, because the IRS caught it. So the IRS didn't accidentally pay out all your withholdings. They caught it. And so you go, whoa. And then next thing you know, you're in an ID protection. If it happens to you, there's something called the Taxpayer Advocate Service, and every year they write a summary of the things that are happening that the IRS could do better. And a topic the last couple of years is helping people that are in that cycle get their money and their tax record straightened out in less than 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
So if there was one message for folks here, is that there's a magic time between January, this towards like the 12th or 13th of January, probably through that February, March area, that you're going to be susceptible to having, as a business, having your stuff stolen and filed erroneously on your behalf by some crook. Or as an employee, this is when they're going to try to get ahead of you and file and before you do. And thankfully, one of the things you can do is there is an identification or identity theft program at the IRS. It used to be just a few states. Now it's pretty broad, that if you wish, you can now voluntarily say, hold it. I think I've seen all these notices come in, and my insurance company got breached and my health company got breached. Maybe you might want to consider voluntary
Right.
joining that program. And what it requires is, when you file your tax return, the IRS mails you, it's the only way to get it, mails you a code that you have to put on your tax return. If you have a professional doing it, you can give them the code and they'll need it to file your return. And that is pretty effective in stopping this game that's going on. Because if you're in the
sure.
identity theft program, bang, they may accidentally filed something on you, but they can't file a return. It's
Wow.
blocked.
So is this something that you use for yourself? this
I
code
do
system? Yeah,
actually. We
yeah,
talk about
it's a
stories.
great idea.
This is pretty ugly.
Yeah.
I am in the program, and I'm in the program because of what I just explained to you. That happened to my wife and I. It was
Oh man.
about we were early, so we were early on the ID theft campaign. The IRS caught it, so we got that note in the mail. So thankfully, they
Wow.
didn't pay our withholdings out. What we had to do then is with our tax return, we couldn't e-file it. We had to send it in paper, old-fashioned way with copies of our ID and a special form that said, hey, this stuff and per this, and we put their notice in. And so our return was filed and we got stuff. It was a bit of a delay doing it that way, but we were fortunate. And ever since then, we've been in the ID theft program and we have to enter that code on our
Oh,
return.
you can answer it firsthand.
Um,
Interesting.
and then good luck trying to figure
Yeah.
out the source. We're pretty sure we know where it came from because of some erroneous mailings we got from at that point, our health insurance company. At that point, it was Blue Cross. I'm not throwing them under the bus. I don't think they even knew that it was them, but it was pretty clear to us, given some correspondence we saw, that at best case, their records had been hacked. Worst cases, it had been pretty bad. And this was long, like I said, this is years and years ago. So this was early days of this kind of stuff happening. Now it's very sophisticated. It's
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was going to
crazy.
say those perpetrators have really come a long way, which of course is, primary reason why we all have to have a written information security plan. Now, we talked before the show started that there's a lot of infiltration by bad AI out
Yep.
there, right? So let's speak to that for a minute, and then we're going to shift gears and talk about another initiative that you have going on.
Okay, well, the last time we talked, I did throw out because I a lot of stuff, and I did actually go back and listen to it. And I did say there were 5 or 6 ideas that you really should do and could do to feel more empowered and more secure. So I would be remiss not to mention those things briefly if
Yeah,
if
let's
you
do that.
okay.
Absolutely.
Well, the first thing I want you to do is when it comes to safeguarding your company's stuff, the safeguards rule really break it down into 3 things. It's physical, your physical security or physical safeguards, technical safeguards, and the third thing is administrative safeguards. So as I talk about these 6 ideas, you put them into those 3 things. Physical safeguards, you can imagine, well, you don't have records out, keep stuff locked. And when you leave your desk, make sure that your computer's logged out, stuff like that. That's the physical safeguards. The technical safeguards, you're going to see stuff like talking about your devices and your network, your computer devices and your network and how you're accessing stuff. And then the third area is administrative safeguards. And there's where we talked last time. That's where training comes in. And that's where, managing how you respond and things like that. So those are the 3 things that the FTC looks at. So
So
here
you're
are your
talking,
ideas. The first
okay.
is
Yeah.
strong encryption. Encrypt everything.
Yeah.
Your computer should be encrypted. Use emails that automatically encrypt. Use services that encrypt everything. So a lot of people say, well, I have a great password on my computer, etc. If your data inside your computer is not also encrypted, they'll just take your hard drive out and take your information that way. So you really need full encryption on your systems. Second idea, keep everything up to date. Easier said than done. And so it's stuff like it's the biggest thing is your OS system in your computer. And if you're in a Mac environment, it's a little more safe, but Microsoft big time issues. So always have your auto updates on. Not only that, but your software and the versions of your software. The
So I
third
have
is
a question. I have a question about that real
sure.
quick. So when we talk about Microsoft and like for those of us who have Defender, should we have something on top of that? I mean, I do, but I'm just wondering, like, what do
I
you
would
think?
say it depends on your level of PII, but I would say always. And this is where you can't be too safe. I know right now there's And it's ironic. I don't know if we talked about this before, but in the old days, back when I was working at Land O'Lakes, all the information were in these large IBM mainframes. They called them MVS mainframes, and we all had these dumb terminals. And over time, with the advent of PCs and IBM coming out and DOS machines, we started to migrate all that information onto our desktops. Now there's a big push to take all of the stuff off our desktops and push it out into big server farms and saying that that's now more secure. So it's ironic. So it was all centralized. Now it was all decentralized. And now it's kind of the push to have it all centralized again. The benefit of centralization is you don't have anything on your PC. You might just have the stuff you're working on and boom, and it's gone. The bad part about that is it just shifts. It centralizes the risk. I mean, as a thief, if I can break into that, I get everybody's stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how long that stays. But when you do that, sometimes you don't need as much stuff on your PC, including firewalls and things like that. But I would always be a proponent of absolutely go beyond what's built in. Again, Macs tend to have a little better security built into their system just based on what I've read. But I would say absolutely go further if you need to, especially if you have PII in your, and again, that's personally identifiable information.
Yes.
In your customer information and that kind of stuff.
Account numbers, social security numbers, that kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Dates of birth. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to switch gears real quick, unless you got one more. You got to keep going though, right?
I'm just going to give you these others real quick. So regular training, multi-factor authentication, strong network security, that's firewalls updates, and monitor and respond to threats. So that's the last thing I'll leave you with. If you do think something suspicious, get on it, document it, and alert folks timely. That's the last thing I give you. With that, I feel like I fulfilled my 6 ideas and we can go on.
Those are great ideas. I know that you share these kinds of ideas and your expertise with your client base. I know you got lots and lots of clients out there, and most of them are accounting firms, right?
Yeah. Other folks find us. So like on our WISP Builder service, oh my gosh, we're finding all kinds of folks, insurance companies, auto dealerships, even little banks, they all need to do this. Anybody that sells or buys property oftentimes has PII, so they need them. It's crazy. I mean, it's going to get to a place where it's going to be an exception if you don't need a written information security plan versus the rule.
Sure. Well, and that, like you said, is tied to personally identifiable information. So if anybody listening, like any company owner, any advisor, if you have that kind of information on your clients or customers, then you have to have a WISP. Yes.
Oh yeah. And from your standpoint, if you're looking to exit and put an exit team together, oh my gosh, can you imagine what the value of your business would do overnight if your timing was terrible and somebody got you while you were planning your exit? That would
I'm sure there are deal makers listening to the show right now who can raise their hand and say that has happened to me and a client of mine in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. And probably won't be the last. So let's switch gears. Like I said, we didn't get a chance to talk about Practice Panda last time, and I would love to have you talk about that. It's the marketing arm of the services that you provide, and so I'm just going to stop talking and let you go.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, before we got into this whole security thing, which we got into because we just felt bad that there weren't tools out there for them. A large part of this was helping folks do what they do. In other words, do accounting work, doing audit work, doing tax returns. Communication wasn't the strength. And we realized that there kind of this division. There's relationships and then there's transaction, the transaction part of the business. Accountants are real good with the transaction part of the business. The relationship part of the business, not necessarily a forte, for some. So we said, wouldn't it be great if we could figure a way for you to communicate with your clients effectively and push it out to all of them instantaneously wherever they were? And that's where the idea came from for Practice Panda. So it's basically client-centric communication. I have something to say. how do I get the maximum number of my folks or prospective folks to see it? So we created a tool that basically is like a bicycle with a hub in the middle and then spokes. And so you put the content in the middle and then you instantaneously push it out. So it automatically posts on your website. It automatically goes out in an email to your clients if you want. It goes and posts on your different socials and stuff like that. And so that's where Practice Panda came from. So what we started with is a monthly newsletter where you could stay connected with your clients and you could go in and you could edit the articles, take some, use some, not use some, write your own message. And then it just was automated and we took care of all that. And it morphed from that to weekly tax tips. We have tax videos, we have little firm videos, and all of them branded for each firm. So they can look professional in a minute. If you're a startup, it's amazing. You're like, I want to branch off. I want to start my own place. I need a website. I need to. That's what Practice Panda does. Literally in a week, you can be up and running and look credible.
Wow. That is amazing. I mean, I think that when it comes to professional services firms, where they probably are lacking many times is in not only business administration, but in marketing. And so having all of that set up for them, that white label, I would assume that's what you call it, right? A white label product that,
Yep, it
yeah.
is. And
And
we provide
covers a lot
the
of bases
content.
there.
We have pros that write it. And yet if someone wants to do it themselves, it's there. So the tool takes this, it's this core thing. We write it with the client in mind. So the analogy I give is like kids cereal, right? So with kids cereal, you have a gatekeeper and the consumer. The gatekeeper is typically a parent, and the consumer is, well, a kid. And I kind of like tricks as a kid. I wanted that tricks, but I had to get it through the gatekeeper. So
Right.
if the cereal had too much sweetness in it, I couldn't get it through the gatekeepers. You needed to have that balance. And so like a cereal like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I could kind of get by my kids could get by me because I knew that it was less sugar than others. Long story short, that's what we're doing. We know that this has the professional's name on it. So it has to pass their muster, but the consumer of the product is not a tax geek or an accounting geek. They're a small business person, or they're Joe and Jane America. So you better write something with some aha content. And that's what we've over the years have learned that we're really good at.
And you are. I receive your newsletters and things like that. And it's definitely understandable from a layman's perspective. I'll just say that.
Yeah. And that's what we try for. So if it's a success, it's as a client, you open it up and you smile and you go, geez, Joe just gave me that. And I'm staying in touch. Joe's staying in touch with them. And trust me, right? In our category, Intuit is actively trying to steal small accounting firms' customers. They're trying to put them out of business.
Wow.
And I mean, and what they love about it, and if you look at some of the last ads, and basically one of them, which the whole industry went up in arms with, it said, "Fire your accountant." Like, whoa, that's a little direct. But so they're competing, they're supplying it, they're competing with them. So Intuit QuickBooks product has a virtual monopoly on it. And here at the same time, they're taking those customers from them, trying to get them online and then get their filing business and all of that. So we find that those accountants that really want to have relationships with their clients are going to succeed against that mega corporation trying to take the transactional business away from them.
Especially the firms that are working with business owners who need more than just tax preparation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And I mean, I always scratch my head and like, okay, you use them, yet they're actively trying to peel off as much of your business as they can. It's just this
Probably feel backed into a corner. That's not too, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so another real quick switch here before we wrap up, Steve. We touched on in the beginning of the show how AI is actually, and I wanted to touch on how you're using AI and how it's being used in your
Sure.
industry. So we could go with that for a couple minutes and then maybe wrap up with impersonations that you've seen and things that people need to watch for. We got a few minutes left here.
Okay. Well, AI is an interesting thing in our category. What's being done really well are closed AI systems. So as you can imagine, federal tax law, federal tax cases, state tax court cases, et cetera, there are a number of suppliers that have created closed AI systems. So it's really helpful for this industry
Mm-hmm.
to get answers more quickly. The irony is a lot of times the answers, there aren't answers. So you have to take a reasonableness approach, but getting to the facts quickly has been really good. OpenAI, on the other hand, is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to the security element.
Right.
Something that all accountants have to abide by, which is called Circular 230, or CIRC 230 in short, and yet follows rules. And so when you start talking to or using a tool that potentially puts anything out in a shared resource for others, you're probably violating CIRC 230. So it's an interesting dilemma. How we have done it and what I learned, I talked to somebody that was the the dean of a pretty good creative college out here in Florida that brings illustrators, and they're a source for Disney and big studios.
Sure.
And I went to talk with him and how they were seeing it. And what it kept down to was if it comes to a relationship, AI doesn't really have a place. But when it comes to helping you save time and energy, that's where it is. And the analogy he gave was in like big animated movies. The backgrounds of those movies are a great place for AI. You can create that, you can generate it, and they don't need
Mm-hmm.
those teams. But replacing the voice of a main character, AI is not gonna do that for you. Or the illustration and the characteristics of a main character where there's an actual relationship with the audience, and that they find that that's never going to replace an artist. It may be used as a tool, but it'll never. How we took that here has to do with like our client communication. That's your relationship. Your relationship with a client should never be replaced by AI. And so you could certainly use it to augment and save you some time, but you are that connection with that client. And that's the
Yeah.
same thing with our communication. That communication will always be, and we'll treat that as a treasure because it's got your name on it and it's connected to that household. That should always be a relationship. How we use AI, oh my gosh, coding, our dev work is, oh gosh, it's like 1/5 of the time that it used to be. It still requires our experts to make it work, but
Sure.
we've found that it saves a ton of time re-editing a voiceover, like when somebody does a tax law change and we have to put up a new video on there, and you go like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to record that thing from scratch. Well, we
Mm-hmm.
can take that and morph it now so that it's more blended, saves us a ton of time. Does it
Yes.
Did we still use that voiceover talent and pay that voiceover talent? Yes, but we don't have to now go back when we have to like change 2 words or 3 words because the dollar changed or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're finding AI, and then process and procedures is also a big one where we can really help, especially for our level 1 tech support people. So
Yeah.
if somebody calls with a question on how to do a W-2 or a 1099, and we get that question 18 times, we can use AI to help really streamline and get the right answer to everybody, and don't have to train everybody at the same time and make sure everybody's up at the same level.
Well, like you said, AI is definitely a helper for efficiency and allowing people in professional services to do higher level things. That's what we're all about too, right? And I think that it's not going to replace us. It doesn't replace our wisdom, but it definitely can emulate our knowledge and be a thought partner.
Yes,
Hmm.
that's well stated. I think
Hmm.
that's pretty accurate from what we've found.
Hmm.
Could we use it and incorporate it quicker and more rapidly than we are? Yeah, probably. But has it saved us tremendous time already? Yes, it really has. Like, for instance, our level one support, we would get all the questions being handled by a person, but in our tool now, our help is now integrated with an AI tool. So 60 to 70% of the questions that anybody could answer, they're answered. And so we're finding that our tech guys can spend more time with people that truly need help
Yes.
for those one-off things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, the higher level things that, we always say we wish we had more time for, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that this will enable that for sure. Well, gosh, so many more questions I had for you still, Steve, but I don't have time to ask them. So we'll just
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I really appreciate you being on the show again. It's been great.
Great. I'd love to be here and hopefully I help somebody.
Oh, I'm sure you did. We'll have your contact information in the show notes and in social media so that people can contact you or contact Tangible Values or Practice Panda or Wisp Builder, because all three of those companies provide amazing services for professional services. So thanks again. I really appreciate it, Steve. And thank you to our listeners for your downloads, for following us, for sharing the episodes. We really appreciate it. We'll see you again next time.